last week we started things off with what's in our cart, and for me it was an SSD and some memory for my laptop. Some of you may remember that I was on the fence if I want to go with a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte SSD for my laptop. And
Tell me you went with the 2.
Well, so we'll start with the memory, right? So it has
Oh, great.
it has 8 gigs soldered to the motherboard, DDR4, and it has 1 SODIMM slot available. So it came with an 8 gig stick from the factory, so for a total of 16. I did end up going with 32 in addition to the 8, so I have 40 gigs now of DDR4 memory at 3200 megahertz. I went with a G-Skill SODIMM, 1.2 volts. Yeah, it's pretty loose timings, but that's what you get in SODIMM form factors. But yeah, I definitely wanted it to match 3200 megahertz because that
I'll
is
keep
what.
going. I don't know why there's people at the door. Sorry.
Yeah. So I ended up installing the memory. That went without a hitch. In terms of the SSD, I was debating. Well, it had a 512 gig SSD from the factory, and for me, that's just not quite enough. Like, it's totally fine for an OS drive and some light stuff, but this laptop has a Ryzen CPU. It has a 3060 mobile GPU, and I wanted a bigger SSD.
Sorry, drunk ladies.
You didn't invite them in.
Oh my goodness, we're not going to touch that one.
All right, we won't touch that one.
They're all middle school kids, so
All right.
no.
Okay. But yeah, so for the SSD, I was considering a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte because the 512 isn't enough for me. Hey, CPPC Tech and Magic Lucky. Good to see you guys in the chat. Yeah, so I decided on a 2 terabyte, right? And I saw that I was considering getting one at Best Buy. I was going to go with the, what was it? The Western Digital.
Real quick, Andrew, you might want to increase your audio or make it the same as mine. I guess you're kind of quiet.
Okay, hang on.
Yep. Did you already do a call out for all the people in chat?
Yeah, everyone should be accounted for. My audio
Okay.
should be substantially louder. Yeah, you might be a little louder than me, but I should be coming through pretty clear.
Yeah, let us know if we're different enough to where it's hard to hear us. So just let us know.
Yeah. So anyway, actually I'm peeking just a little bit. All right. So to revisit the story, I was planning on getting the 2 terabyte. Also bring the mic a little closer. So I was gonna get the SN750 Western Digital drive, and then the next day I went on Amazon and I saw that the Sabrent Rocket 2 terabyte NVMe drive was on sale for $169, and I was like, well, there you go. It's a great drive. I've had the 1 terabyte version before, and it's Gen 3, but you know, it's still over 3,000 megabytes read and write, which I was like, plenty, perfect, done, ordered, prime shipping. So I take apart my laptop, put in the memory, perfect, great. Go to put in the SSD, and one thing that I didn't think through that became an issue very quickly. Do you know what it was?
I'm very, very suspicious of it, but I'm gonna take a wild yonder and say that it was the wrong orientation.
No.
Oh.
The issue was that the laptop is relatively thin and by design only has room for single-sided SSDs. The 2 terabyte Sabrent Rocket is a double-sided SSD, as a lot of 2 terabyte drives are. So that was a problem. So I didn't end up going with the Sabrent Rocket 2 terabyte SSD, but I also didn't want to wait another however long to get a replacement that was the right, size from Prime. So I wasn't going to be too picky. I looked on Best Buy and I tried to find one locally that I could get same day and go and pick up that evening and just throw in there, because I didn't want to put the laptop back together without finishing the job. So I was able to find a Best Buy relatively close, like 45 minutes away.
That's relatively close for you?
That's relatively close. That had.
I'm worried to hear what's far.
Well, there were just no relatively affordable SSDs otherwise. So what I ended up going with was I went with the Samsung 970 Evo Plus, which does 3,500 megabytes read and I think 3,000 write. So it's a pretty good performer. It was $199, but I had a $25 reward certificate. So it ended up being about $5 more than the Sabrent was. Single-sided. I checked that well before I ordered it, and I got that installed no problem. It's running great. 40 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of storage, and the job is done as the laptop is complete. So that was my SSD debacle that I had this week. But
you said 40 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
I'm sure you meant something else.
No, 40 gigs.
So you have 2 unmatching sticks in there. You
recall,
heathen.
If you recall,
you heathen.
If you recall, 8 gigs are soldered. There's one SODIMM slot. 8 gigs soldered plus a 32 gig SODIMM is 40.
Okay, heathen.
All right.
Unmatching sticks.
You want me to just desolder the 8 gigs and solder on bigger modules? Would that make you happy?
Look, you gotta do it right, man. You gotta send it to CryptoShape. He will desolder the chips and put on DDR6X chips in there for you instead. So it'll be much faster.
That would actually be interesting to see what would happen if you actually put bigger DDR4 chips on there.
I'm assuming if it's the memory controller is what probably matters, because after the module is just a module. The memory controller is what communicates and makes sure everything's working. So I would say it probably wouldn't work because the memory controller is probably designed for that 8 gig.
Well, you could get this laptop in a 32 gig spec with 16 soldered. So I don't know if there's vacant pads or if there's just they use bigger modules, chips. But anyway, that's all said and done. Laptop's done, working great. So I also talked about last week my Nvidia Shield purchase, which is a streaming device. If you guys don't know, got the Nvidia Shield TV Pro. It works really well as a streaming device, but part of the reason I spent $200 on a streaming device was because I wanted to use it as a Plex media server, which is an advertised feature of the product. Since purchasing it, Plex Media Server has not worked for me at all. It has been an issue in the community since their latest update, which introduced Android 11 to the device. They released a fix that supposedly addressed Plex Media Server concerns and storage permissions, which are new in Android 11, which apparently caused some of the issues. Updated to that, still didn't work. So Plex Media Server does not work for me. I reached out to NVIDIA support because, that's what they're there for. And it's either this thing works or I return it. And they said, well, did you get the hot fix? And I said, what hot fix? And they said, oh yeah, 2 days ago we released a hot fix since that update. And go to this go to this Google form, put in your serial number, and you'll be in line for the hotfix. So I put in my serial number, and apparently the update will be pushed through in 24 to 48 hours. And the rep was assuring me that this will be the solution to my problems, which I am less than confident is true.
maybe they contracted all their customer service through Newegg.
Yeah. It sounds like the same guy who handles the return at Newegg does the live chat for Nvidia.
Was he concerned? Was he concerned about your thermal pate?
No. He said run that K5 stuff on there. I don't know what he's talking about. But...
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's
K5 jelly, right?
Yeah.